This video was a re-upload, in which due to minor copyright issues, certain edits had to be made. Enjoy the content guys and stay fresh. Throughout the history of this show, I have talked about many cinematic movie aliens, so it should come as no surprise that today I'm discussing another movie about an alien invasion. So what's so different about this particular alien movie? Well, the fact that they are clowns. Yep, aliens from another planet who just so happen to look like evil demonic clowns. Clowns. Why does it have to be clowns? I hate these guys. Nope, that's it. I refuse to do this episode. It was hard enough doing an episode about Pennywise. But an entire spaceship of these assholes? No, I refuse. Sorry guys, no show today. See ya. Okay. I don't want my audience to think that I'm a coward or anything. And I guess that I started, so I may as well finish it. This schlock fest of fun came out in 1988 and pays homage to those weird and bizarre 1950s B science fiction monster movies and gives the genre a 1980s revamp as we see aliens land in a small town, whom take on the form of terrifying mutant aliens who plan to take over the human race and use the people as nourishments. Because if the idea of alien clowns wasn't messed up enough, they want to drink us too.
Nobody stores cotton candy like this.
In a cheeky movie that has all that 1980s fun and enjoyment you would expect. So with that, let's look into 10 amazing facts about killer clowns from outer space. I swear, you guys are going to give someone with chlorophobia a heart attack. Anyway, let's do this.
What are you gonna do? Knock my block off?
Number 10. Brotherly love. The production behind Killer Clowns from Outer Space is just as unique as the concept of the movie itself, as the movie was written, directed and produced by three brothers, consisting on the hard-working talents of Charles, Edward and Stephen Chiodo, whom had already raised hell even before the release of their golden opus Killer Clowns from Outer Space, as they had already formed a special effects company called Chiodo Brothers Productions, whom had provided the special effects for Large Marge in Tim Burton's Pee-wee's Big Adventure, along with creating the critter creatures for the movie Critters. Yep, not since the Bee Gees has a trio of brothers been responsible for so much teeth and fur. Number 9. The movie was originally just called Killer Clowns. If you think the title of Killer Clowns from Outer Space may be a bit of a mouthful when it comes to movie titles, keep in mind that at one stage the movie had the much simpler title of just Killer Clowns, keeping things short and sweet and nice and easy. However, later in the movie's production, the Chiodo brothers decided to call the movie Killer Clowns from Outer Space, as they were worried that people would just assume that it's yet another slasher movie, which were the craze at the time. And they also felt that adding outer space in the title would give it that cheeky comedy element that they were striving for. Number 8. The movie takes inspiration from the BLOB. I already mentioned that Killer Clowns from Outer Space is a callback to the crazy B-monster movies from space that came out in the 1950s. And one in particular that seems to have been a huge influence on Killer Clowns from Outer Space is the 1958 movie The Blob. Both movies see the alien life form come down in the middle of the woods, where they are approached by an ill-fated old man and his dog. And both movies have themes of the older generation simply not believing in the youthful younger generation, and seeing them as degenerates, of which the lack of understanding the youth causes unnecessary destruction and chaos. So it has that callback to the Blob, of not accepting the youngsters at face value on the account of them being young. Hang on, Killer Clowns came out in 1988, and the original Blob came out in 1958, an entire 30 years earlier. And also in 1988, the Blob remake came out. So you know what this means? It means Gary Busey? Number 7, the movie stars the Dean from Animal House. Killer Clowns from Outer Space stars John Vernon as a no-nonsense deputy who ends up getting into all kinds of troublesome shenanigans with the Killer Clowns. Well, any movie buff would recognise Vernon as Dean Wormer from the 1978 college comedy movie Animal House. What I love about Vernon's performance in both Animal House and Killer Clowns from Outer Space is that he is starring in these movies which are just utterly ridiculous and over the top, and yet he plays his part so straight and narrow and takes his roles so seriously, which just makes his performances all the more funny.
Out with it!
I just find it funny that someone can take these ludicrous roles so seriously, and of course not leaving out his voice, which has a lot of power and command about it.
They want to play games? They're messing with the wrong guy.
Number 6, the movie's budget. Believe it or not, but Killer Clowns from Outer Space was made on the tiny shoestring budget of $2 million. Ironically, the same budget as Critters, of which I had previously spoken about in that episode. So in order to save costs, certain shortcuts had to be made. For example, instead of getting some expensive special effects studio to create the clown effects, the Chiodo brothers just used their own expertise and created the clowns themselves at a cheap cost. But because they were experts in their field, the clown monsters still looked great. And all the cars seen in the movies were all hired. And interestingly enough, the most expensive prop in the movie was the popcorn gun. Yeah, who would have thought that? It cost a fortune on the account that it was an actual functioning piece of equipment that really fired popcorn. So yes, out of all the effects seen in the movie, the one thing that cost the most amount of money was the popcorn gun. Damn, I really did not see that one coming. Number 5, Killer Clowns and ERNEST. Throughout the 80s and 90s, comedian Jim Varney starred in 10 movies as his hapless funny man ego, Ernest P. Worrell. And 1991 saw the release of the horror-themed entry, Ernest Scared Stupid, which sees the bumbling, goofy character come face to face with a bunch of evil trolls. Well, fans of Killer Clowns from Outer Space may have spotted something familiar about some of these trolls, as some of the troll masks were the clown masks from Killer Clowns from Outer Space, just reused and given a coat of paint to make them look like trolls. Indeed, this is what the once great and memorable Killer Clowns was reduced to. The sad thing is, fans have always wanted a sequel to Killer Clowns. And sadly, and I do mean sadly, the closest we have yet to come to a sequel is seeing the clown masks reused in an ERNEST movie. Good grief. Number 4, the truth about KLOWNZILLA. Once again, while we're talking about the movie's incredibly low budget, I think it's also necessary to talk about King Clown, or as he's known behind the scenes of the movie, KLOWNZILLA. KLOWNZILLA is a giant, monstrous clown beastie who shows up at the end of the movie and wreaks havoc and disaster. Just imagine Mr. Stay Puft on steroids. And if he was a clown. and his name is evidently a reference to Godzilla, to emphasize just how destructive this giant clown douchebag is. Well, KLOWNZILLA was originally meant to be brought to life via stop-motion animation, but once again, thanks to the movie's micro-budget, this option was ruled out, so instead, Charles Chiodo performed the character himself. Yep, one of the movie's directors jumped inside a clown suit and played the part of the deadly clown monster. And this was filmed in special angles to make him look big and foreboding. And in my opinion, this worked better. I mean, I can often spot out stop motion animation, and often to me it just doesn't look right. For example, the headless zombie in Evil Dead 2. And I'm dreading to think what stop motion would have looked like on such a tiny budget. So doing it this way just makes more sense. And it works, and it looks real. It's like the movie's small budget was also kind of its blessing. Number 3, the story behind the theme song. As with most horror movies of the 80s, Killer Klowns from Outer Space had a funky theme song released to coincide with the movie. The song was written and performed by a group called the Dickies, and their theme song to accompany the movie mixes circus music with 80s rock. However, here's the thing, the Dickies never got a chance to see the movie or read the script when they wrote and recorded the song. Nope, not one frame of the movie. So the punk rock group had to work with how they think the song should sound, given the movie is called Killer Klowns from Outer Space. But to be fair though, at least their gut instinct works, as the song does go with the film. But damn filmmakers, in the future, if you want a band to record a song for your movie, at least let them see some of your movie so they can get an idea of what kind of song to make it. Sheesh. Number 2, cult status. Unfortunately, Killer Klowns from Outer Space only made $4 million worldwide upon its release, making it a financial flop. But as with most underrated and misunderstood movies of the 1980s, the movie has gone on to gain a massive cult status, and has become a movie adored by masses of fans who just can't seem to get enough of these horrific, mutated alien clowns. In fact, Killer Klowns has become so popular and mainstream within pop culture, even the Insane Clown Posse has referenced them. In fact, the movie is so big now, there are plenty of Killer Clown merchandising out there for fans who just can't get enough of this movie and need to indulge their fandoms, including t-shirts and a line of figurines. So it just goes to show that just because a movie comes and goes on its initial release, doesn't mean it won't go on to become a successful movie later down the track. Number 1, sequel madness. Ever since the release of Killer Klowns from Outer Space in 1988, the Chiodo brothers have been trying to get a sequel off the ground, but just can't seem to make it happen. Yep, a whole staggering 30 years of development hell. I mean, come on! It's taken these poor guys 30 years, and still nothing. Someone give them a break and greenlight a sequel already. Seriously, given the huge modern fan response, it seems that fans would be up for it. Look, if we could have 10,000 Transformers movies, surely we can have a Killer Klowns Part 2. There have actually been all kinds of stories circulating about a follow-up, from 2 back-to-back sequels being released, to a special 3D sequel, to even a TV series, but still to this day, not a damn thing. And let's face it, we've probably now expired the boundary of a sequel, and given Hollywood's bad habits these days, if there was to be another film, it'll probably just be a remake, which would be a shame. Oh my god, just imagine Killer Klowns from Outer Space, the dark, gritty remake. Ugh. Anyway guys, that was my look into Killer Klowns from Outer Space. It's wacky and silly, and given the fact that it has killer clowns in it, makes me fill my pants with cake. But I gotta admit, I get a lot of guilty fun out of this movie. No, to hell with guilty. It's fun. And who cares if others say that it's not? Anyway, I'm Minty, and in space, no one can eat ice cream. And yes, that was the actual movie's tagline. See ya!